Liberty Week, guys. Been pretty intense all season, but how different is this week from these other ones that you've been dealing with now?
Basically, by me just transferring here a year and a half ago, I have completely grown to the rivalry of Liberty. It's a big week. It's a week that we step it up a notch just a little bit more, but we don't treat them differently. We treat everybody else, but it's just something that about them is a little different. So we're gonna take it home and prepare like we always do, and try to get a win like we normally do.
But you surely know something's at stake. There's a little something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
It's more of a pride thing. Liberty, they play us harder than they always play. Every year for me, watching film, they always play us hard. Just like last year, we won in overtimes. But it's a pride. It's our rival. We want to win just like we win all our other games. But we want that pride of knowing that we can beat Liberty and we will beat Liberty.
How about the fact that you've had to share the conference title the last couple of years? And
I think that's something that the seniors did a good job of talking to the young guys about. The fact that we shared the title with them the last couple of years. I think it's only right that we send those guys out if we win it all out. You know, me personally winning the Big South the last couple of years has been fun, but sharing it with Liberty hasn't been all the way that good. Just because we know that's our rival, and I think sending those guys out on top, just us being number one, it's going to be a great deal for them.
From your perspective, what is it that feeds this rivalry, and how intense is it for the players?
I think it's pretty intense. The older guys that were here a few years ago really installed into the young guys who are now older guys now. And with us, with this rivalry with Liberty, I mean, it's a fun rivalry. It's always fun to play a rival. I mean, especially with everything that's at stake this weekend. You know, so it'll be an intense, fun game. Fly around, make plays, and just to know what's at stake. So it's gonna make us play a little harder.
What do you think, Tyler? You've been through these for a while now. I mean.
Well, I think it's certainly the aspect that Liberty always brings their best, and I feel like we always bring our best to that game. We always play each other very hard, and it's always close games. So I mean, it really hasn't been much of a blowout ever. So I think that's kind of the rivalry aspect. They're a good competitor for us.
Thoughts on senior day, and there's still more games to play this season probably, but.
Oh, still more games, but I mean, every senior wants to kind of leave a legacy and have their senior year be Coastal's like big year. So, I mean, we're looking ahead, and it would definitely be nice to have an undefeated regular season going into this game.
How much have you guys been able to enjoy this run? Because, you know, Coach has been saying you had the late bye week, and he said you guys were just working constantly. Are you able to take time to sit back and appreciate the fact you're 11-0?
I mean, it's something that we appreciate, we think, but we work hard day in, day out, off season, in season. So we'll take our time to appreciate when the season's over with. We just have work to do right now. We want to continue to work hard, continue to study, dominate our opponents, focus on the next game ahead, one game at a time. And we'll celebrate and focus after everything is done.
Have you reflected at all this week on last year's game and just how pivotal that was to what you accomplished? That game goes differently. The whole season might go differently.
Well, I think last year's game was one of probably the craziest games any of us ever played. You know, just to come back in general. But we really can't look too much on last season because we're a different team. They're a different team, and I mean, it'd be great just knowing what we did last year and going into this year, know they're going to bring it all. So I'm not really looking forward to it.
You're a different team. Could you tell me more about that? I mean, you've got a better record. Are you a better team? Is this the best team you've played on here?
Well, I feel like with Alec Ross at quarterback, we're definitely a better team this year. He was quarterback last year, but last year was his first season. This year, he really got a chance to get his feel for last season. Really understand a little bit more of what we're doing now. With him at quarterback, anything's possible. You know, with him leading Quinn on defense, Leroy and Tyler, of course, at defense. But from an offense standpoint, Alex's growth and his maturity has definitely made his offense a little different, a lot different.
What's the mood of the team right now, other than, hey, we're taking it one game at a time?
I mean,
Motivated.
yeah, Coach Moglia, puts in us be proud of where we're at, but nobody's satisfied. Nobody's really worried about where we're at ranking-wise. Just be proud of what we've achieved, be proud of where we're at, but keep working because you can't take no days off.
Because of everything that's on the line, obviously, you've got the #1 ranking, you can get an undefeated season. The Liberty game's always a big game, but do you think a win over them this year would be even more significant because of what it potentially could do for you as far as playoff seeding and things like that?
I mean, a win over anybody is real good for us. Given that this is more at stake, this is the last regular season game, it is more going into it, I guess. But, we're going to attack them just like we attacked every other team this year. Take it one game at a time, get our game plan right, make our reads, and execute.
What concerns you the most about Liberty as you looked at the game film, about their defense or any part about them?
Well, the thing about their defense, they play real hard. They swarm to the ball, they run hard, they gang tackle. So, just the only thing that really concerns me is us getting in open space, making plays happen. Like they're a good ball group, and it'll be fun to go against a good ball club like them. Just showcase what we can do, see where we're at.
From the defensive perspective, they've got a couple of great athletes and stuff, and but I feel like we've got a good game plan for them. And biggest thing is executing, making our reads, and making plays.
Okay, no questions on Marvin? All right, should I just give you an overview on Liberty?
Please.
Good. I think you all know I have a lot of respect for Turner Gill. I think he does a good job with their program. From an offensive perspective, they're the 23rd ranked, I think, scoring offense in the country, or passing offense in the country, I think they're potent on offense. Their quarterback is certainly one of the best quarterbacks at the FCS level. His backup was the guy that played the other day, and while he's younger and inexperienced, he did an outstanding job. He completed 67% of his passes. They averaged about 250 yards a game thrown. He threw for 240-something yards. He didn't get sacked. He was the leading rusher in the game. So he's a very, very good athlete, and he's a real threat. So the first question then of us would be, all right, then from a defensive perspective, do you have two game plans, et cetera? It's the same offense. So as we prepare for Liberty, we're preparing for the same offense. The difference would be, I think, that both quarterbacks can run. Both quarterbacks are effective. I think the older kid, because of his experience, probably is more familiar in terms of being able, I think, make his checks and do the different things that he needs to do in terms of a game. I think the younger kid's a little bit more inexperienced. The other kid probably run a little bit more. So it may change our calls, but it doesn't change our preparation. So we're assuming either quarterback is in there. We might change the calls during the game depending on the quarterback, but the preparation will be the same for the defense. They have a 1,000-yard rusher. They have the leading receiver in the league, and I think the leading receiver may be in the history of either the conference or Liberty. So they've got a real passing attack. They've got a real running attack. They're a real offense. Our defense is going to have a challenge. We've got to be ready to go for that. From a defensive perspective, I think they're the 15th ranked scoring defense in the country. They've got a safety that's probably an All-American. He's certainly a good football player. They've got a linebacker who's all-conference, who's certainly a good football player. The defensive line up front is probably the most athletic that we've seen so far. 3 of the 4 guys up front, amongst them, have over 20 sacks. They're big, they're physical, they do a good job of getting to the ball. They probably blitz about 12 to 15% of the time. They like to kind of mix things up. Our offense, will have a real defense and real athletes in front of them, but they're going to have a real offense in front of them too. So it's kind of going to be fun matchups, I think, as far as the fans go, and for the coaches on the sideline and for our guys. From a special teams perspective, this sounds across the board. They have 2 outstanding specialists Their punter averages is pretty consistent, about 41 yards. Their kicker, I think they've had him since we've been together here for the last 3 years. He's already kicked a 60-yarder. Most of his kicks go deep into the end zone and turn out to be touchbacks. So they're good across the board in terms of special teams. And again, you don't win at this level if you're not effective with your special teams. So it'll be a good battle of special teams. We know how big a game this is for Liberty. It's a huge game for them. They got a lot at stake. They got a lot going on. I have no doubt that if I'm Turner and I'm, selling every one of those points to their guys, it's a big rival for them. I have no doubt their guys are going to be jacked up, ready to play. I have no doubt our guys are going to be ready to play. Our guys know what's at stake. We got a lot going on too. We got a lot at stake. We're excited to be able to play at home. A little disappointed it happens to come like Thanksgiving week, so a lot of students may not be on campus. So we don't get a big crowd, we don't get a big crowd. We're glad we're playing at home. We're glad it's a big game. We're glad there's a lot on the line. We should be ready for that. And ask me some good questions.
What would 12-0 mean to you? I know it's not the end goal, but it's a special accomplishment if you can pull it off.
That'd be incredible. I mean, 12-0, an undefeated season. Assuming 12-0, we maintain the #1 ranking in the country. I mean, Ryan, that'd be just like wonderful. It's spectacular. To be able to come and wind up the #1 team in the country. We have to go undefeated, win the league outright. Get the automatic berth. Hopefully, get a very high seed. I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. But again, in order to get that, we got to take care of business this week. Our guys know that. Our guys understand that. So that'd be a phenomenal accomplishment. But if we get it, it's based on what we've done up until now and the type of work that we're doing this week, and then be able to keep our poise and go after it on Saturday. I fully expect us to be able to do those things.
What's your sense for this rivalry and what it means to the players, to the fans, to everybody?
I think from the time I got here, I think that, when I asked about rivalries, I think Liberty was the first name that kind of came out of everybody's mouth. I think across all of our sports and our athletic programs, I think Liberty's name comes up. It was great that the athletic department at the university won the Sasser Cup a year ago. That doesn't happen much. The team that usually does that is Liberty. So I think across the board, it's a great rivalry for our school, and our guys know that. And so while it's another game, yeah, but it's a big game. There's a lot going on. We know all that. So, but it's a big rivalry. I think it's a good rivalry for the school. It's all those things.
What's the main point of concern about their offense? Is it that wide receiver, would you say, or?
No, not just the wide receiver. Just pay attention to the wide receiver they've got. He's their go-to guy. We don't always know where he is, but if you double team him, they've got a handful of other guys that they can go to and be very effective. It was either last week, I'm getting my films mixed up now, it was either last week or maybe the game against us a year ago, where both Peterson and another kid had the same amount of catches. Peterson had more yards, may have had an extra touchdown or something, but we know Peterson's their primary guy, but they've got other guys. A little bit similar to our guys, kind of look at our guys. You kind of really overplay one, somebody else can kind of take up the slack. You overplay the pass, they got a 1,000-yard rusher, they can run the ball, the quarterback can run the ball. So I think we got to look at him as balanced. We got to look at him as balanced. We got to be able, if we cheat too much on one side, they're going to hurt us on the other.
How much of a luxury is that for you? Because it's been that way with your wide receivers lately. I feel like one different guy's stepped up each week recently. Alex Ross has to be loving that too, huh?
Well, it's not a luxury. I mean, you work really, really hard to kind of get there. It's kind of more of a necessity. So if you just have one guy that's really, truly the guy, that's wonderful to have if he's superior. But, you can take away one guy. So I think, our philosophy all along has been, we do throw the ball. We're not afraid to throw the ball to our backs, our tight ends, our receivers, the inside guys, the outside guys. And the way our game plans are set up, Alex has a specific read that's going to tell him who's probably the primary target. He goes to that guy. He's open, he throws it. If he's not open, he goes to the second guy. He doesn't normally get to the third guy, but he can. That means usually probably, the clock's ticking now. So he's going to need a little extra time to be able to get there. But that's kind of part of the offense. If you just have one guy and the other guys you're struggling with, people will take that away from you.
Great comeback last year. Where does that game rank for you in terms of significance or just special victories?
Very possibly. I'll go through every game, probably the #2 game in my career in 22 years, #2 game. I think the first game probably you'd have to say is Montana. but not to be down to a rival like that at Liberty in the third quarter by 19, by 3 scores, and to come back and win the game, that's a phenomenal game. I think I said, I think it's it's the greatest comeback certainly in the history of our school. I think it's one of the greatest comebacks in the history of the FCS. And I think last year I was really excited. I might have even said it in our press conference. I said, yeah, it's the greatest coming behind victory in the history of football. That may have been a stretch. That may have been a stretch, but, it was a great game. Certainly proud of that. Certainly proud of what took place. That was a great game. I could have been prouder of us.
Injury report.
Porciello looks like he's still doubtful. Richie Sampson's out. In fact, he's having surgery today. I think most of the other guys should be okay, and we'll have a better feel today, by the end of the day today, but I think everybody else will be okay. This time of the year, everybody's got kind of bangs and bruises. It's tough to go through 3 solid months of really playing football pretty much every week and not have you guys a little worn down. But our guys are okay.
You guys haven't lost a game all year in here. How do you get these guys to continue to peak each week?
You're not trying to peak each week, Mark. What you're really trying to do is just kind of, we talked at the beginning of the year about compounding. So what happens is you focus on a certain objective. You focus on being able to achieve something. Not a goal. You want to achieve something. You want to learn the offense. You want to learn the defense. You want to learn the special teams. Then you want to be able to apply that through a game plan to the type of opponent that we're getting ready to play. Now, if you're doing that well, you start to build on that. And all of a sudden, kind of what you did, and you're pretty good at it, you start to do it automatically. Then you really get good at it mentally, and you start to anticipate what you're going to see before it actually happens. So if you're really doing the right thing with your coaching staff, then I think what happens is you continue to go through that process, you continue to put your guys in the right position, and then it's mostly coaching their minds. It's kind of, because the bodies, everybody has their guys hustling. We don't expect anybody not to hustle, not to give it 100%, but it's kind of the focus mentally is really kind of what makes a difference. And so it's a matter of, wherever we have been, this week we've got to go out and give it 100%. Let's do that. And the probability we're going to be successful is going to be high. And so far this season, when we've done that, even sometimes we fall a little short a little bit, our probability for success has turned out to be successful. So that's still the formula. We're not going to stray from that.
So you got a long way to go, but what have you told the players about this week's game that you can share with us?
I haven't said anything about this game yet, other than on Sunday. When I met with the guys, I talked more about Monmouth. Then I talked about what was going on at Liberty, and everybody knows how important it is. Let's just focus on getting the job done this week. I went back to this mental compounding, and I said that's how important this is. So sometimes if we do something 3/4 speed in practice, your mind slows down, so let's say I got to fill that gap, so you learn how to fill that gap. That's not it. You got to attack that gap. You got to anticipate all the different things that can happen to you in that gap, even if that's not the situation we're putting you in that day in practice. When you're looking at film, what's the call? How would I attack this? What's my read? What's my key? How do I approach this? What do I do? What's my decision? And then mentally actually go through the play. I'm running the ball. I see him coming over. I know he's going to try to tackle me. I'm going to lower my shoulder. I'm going to give him a straight arm. I'm going to cut back to the inside. Same thing, no matter what position it is. You put yourself in the position that you're going to play in the game, and you mentally play the game, for half an hour or so when you watch a film. So you approach it a little differently. That's what we talk about. Now, tomorrow is when we normally do life after football. We cut practice a little bit, and I have a meeting with the team. Tomorrow, because of all the logistics going on with Thanksgiving, his school's going to be off, I'm probably going to spend most of the time. I'm not going to have a pure LAF meeting per se. It's going to be more talking about the logistics and all the things that we have coming up, and here are the different scenarios, and here's what's going to happen. And if you look at what happens if you kind of take care of business, it's a lot nicer, better, cleaner path than not taking care of business.
But you're still in the playoffs either way.
Win
or lose.
So. Yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
You expect that you'll get
No,
one of those?
you have a question?
That was it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree.
I thought I could get something out of you, but
No, but I
went
gave you a lot. I thought
went
the whole
fishing and I
minute
came up empty.
No.
Go ahead.
Do you
You're gonna give me a
expect
lot.
to get one of those top 2 seeds should you be undefeated?
I would assume so. I would think so. But that's up to the judgment of the committee, and I believe they're going to do what they believe is the right thing. But I got to believe we're certainly going to be on the short list for those couple spots.
A lot of big wins lately. You felt any kind of pressure to, I would hate to use the term run up the score, but does margin of victory ever cross your mind when you're thinking about the legitimacy of the conference and grabbing one of those top 2 seeds?
No, in fact, it's the opposite. I want to go the other way. I want to ensure that we have the victory, then I want to give the guys off the field. I want to get the players, I want to get our guys off the field, make sure they're protected, and I want to give other guys more experience. And that's the absolute priority. Now, I don't want to put the game at jeopardy to do that, but I'm not afraid if we make a mistake at the end of the game. I'm not afraid if they, as long as the game's, by the way, the game's out of hand, one way or the other. The guys that, are our starters, our key guys, I want them off the field, and I want the other guys to get good game experience. Getting good game experience is very important. So when we have a guy go down, our other guys are ready to go. So you guys give us a lot of credit a lot of time. Oh, the guy that took Quinn's place, the guy that took Alex's place, the guy last year that took Alex, whatever it might be, that's because we give them work and practice. We really do. Our 2s get a lot of work. We get about as much work as the 1s. And that's not usually true with most programs. Our guys get equal work, and because the way we're organized, and we really emphasize, we really want to get them in the game. So I don't care what the score is.
Well, along with that, it's been a while since you guys have been in a barn burner, going into a game where last year it certainly was, and I know that the program has really had a knack for winning close games. Was that any kind of, you would never want to take your foot off the brake to be in a close game, to be ready for one later in the season, but does that concern you at all?
No, I think the job is, when we talk to our guys, it doesn't matter what the score is. Now, it might matter what we call, okay? It might matter to the coordinator what the score is. It might matter what we call, but it doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter what quarter we're in. This next play, you give it everything you've got. You execute your assignment as best as you possibly can. You focus on the job at hand. You get your job done. That's kind of the focus. At the end of the game, it's close game going down the wire. It's close game going down the wire. It's tough to simulate that. So it's the next play. You got to kind of win the next play. You always kind of win the next play. Not winning the next play. Giving it your best on the next play.
Do the polls really matter? We've probably gone over this before. Do the polls really matter to you, and apparently disrespected in the Sports Network poll? They're still ranking you number 2.
Oh my God! Number two. I would want to jump off a bridge. Number 2. Oh, I can't believe that. I think the polls are nice. The rankings are nice. I think everybody looks at those. I think to be nationally ranked, no, it's a big deal. No, it doesn't affect how you play. It doesn't affect your preparation. It should never get into your head. But no, the ranking is kind of where people think you are. There's always going to be debate on that. Who's better, Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays? I know. Yeah, I know. I agree, but I would want to say Mantle. So it's kind of the same thing. Nobody really knows who the number. That's one of the nice things, by the way, about the playoffs. You get a chance for the better teams in the country to kind of compete. You've got one team winds up winning. That doesn't mean they could win it twice in a row. I don't mean 2 years in a row. It doesn't mean that you play the same team again a week later. You just, on that given day, that's kind of what happens. So yeah, I think the polls matter, but the polls don't affect how you prepare, and it doesn't affect the outcome of the game.
What worries you the most this week? Anything?
Well, no, what worries me is just that, we're not, stuff that worries me is stuff I'm not too worried about, because I think we'll be okay. I think we're a much better defensive team than we were a year ago. I think we're much more disciplined. Remember Monmouth, we had a number of trick plays against us. In every situation, the guy was covered downfield. We kind of lose our discipline, we kind of lose our focus. That's going to hurt us. But no, we need to do what we need to do. So, I think I worry more about having a good practice. And then it kind of comes again. It's not, I don't say the hay's in the barn. I think the coaches got to still think there's a lot of things going on. Our guys should be still thinking. But at the end of the day, the guys are trained to go out in the field and do what they need to do. So they got to be mentally, physically prepared, mentally focused. If they stay mentally focused and go after it, the probability of us being successful should be high.
What kind of game do you expect? Another shootout? What do you
expect? I think it'd be a good game. I think it does go down the wire. I think it gets determined in the fourth quarter. I don't know if it's going to be a shootout or not. It could be, but I don't know. But I expect the game to be a close game, tight game. Maybe it gets decided by special teams. This is one of those games where like a freak play, something happens, kind of, muff on a punt, something like that, can very much determine the outcome of the game. No, I expect it to be a good, hard-fought, tough game going into the fourth quarter. That's what I expect.
Coach, outside of the pretty high probability we've got a playoff game here, you've got 23 seniors that'll be playing their last regular season game. You're talking about, you can't talk about all of them obviously, but pretty special senior class you got this year.
No, we've got a great class. All those guys are certainly part of the success that we've had. The good guys, they've worked hard. You know, if I would have singled somebody out, it's difficult to do that. I think, you know, right off the top of your head, you'd have to single out Quinn. Remember, he was the captain from last year's team. He and Lorenzo were voted as captain for the 2013 team. I think that's an incredible honor for a junior to receive that. You know, Player of the Year, All-American, all those things. Chad, All-American, recent All-Academic District. You know, you got Mo and Brett Johnson along the same lines. I want to be a little careful because I know I'm going to miss somebody, and I'm not going to mention all the guys. But you think if I had to pick one guy, I'd pick our captain. You know, Quinn, that I'd be pat on the back. But they're all good guys that have worked hard, that deserve to be where they are. You know, I'm proud to see them leave. I'm proud to see them graduate. I'm proud to see them move on with their lives.